Hello and welcome back to the Psychological Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
All right, and we are back with, and just like that, Season 3, Episode 4, Apples to Apples.
Yes, well,
The show.
Controversial opinion here. I loved this episode.
You did? Interesting.
I really did.
Okay.
Everyone's hating on the show so much. And it's like, but we're all watching it. So,
yes,
give it a chance. Like, look at, have an open mind.
I went back and forth with it because I do think there were certain things that rang very true, very, very true about family dynamics and divorced parents and all of that kind of stuff. It's just it's a little bit like, really, some of this stuff isn't there a different way to show this, that Harry is concerned about the future, or he's this. I was listening to the companion podcast and they kept talking about how, when you see your parents getting older, it makes you think about your own mortality and it upsets you and all of that. And but I just thought that was kind of weird. We're always thinking about our mortality. Yeah. Seeing our parents get older. Yeah. All of those things do. But I don't know. I wouldn't be so angry at everybody about it. I mean, it just seemed kind of odd. He was so angry. And then poor Harry. I mean, first the peeing pants.
I know.
And now this. I mean, justice for Harry.
Well, and also, we don't need to see men masturbating or having sex problems on this show. I mean, remember?
We know you're in your 50s. You're in your 60s. We got it.
Even we had to see Big, masturbate in front of Harry.
Yes.
Did you forget that? Yeah. I haven't forgotten.
No. Because what we're forgetting is, since we last recorded this, we listened to Sarah Jessica Parker on Howard Stern. That's right. This was a week ago. So that's
that's a whole nother report. I don't know if you want to do that at the front of the show.
Well, I think we do. I think we need to. So we drove up to see our father for Father's Day, we listened to Sarah Jessica Parker on Howard Stern, and Howard's biggest concern, his biggest issue, was about Aiden and Aiden licking his hand. That was the first question he had, and it was how he began the interview and ended the interview, basically, which is, that's disgusting. Make him stop licking his hand. Get him some lube, please.
Yeah, but when he said that, Sarah Jessica had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Because, big revelation, people, she does not watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
She does not like looking at herself. So she just decided, and then she said this, she was also on Call Her Daddy this week, and she said it again, and she said that basically the very first season of Sex and the City, she watched like a few episodes and couldn't stand watching herself, so she hasn't watched since. Mm-hmm. And this woman is an executive producer, whose job it is to look at the show, take notes, figure out, like what works, what doesn't. And she just refuses to participate. Then why are they paying her to be an executive producer?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of a sweetheart deal. Like, a lot of shows will do this with their stars, is let them be producers. And I get the sense that she's the kind of producer who she produces the things that she finds interesting, like clothes, and then probably clothes and hair and makeup and the general look and maybe the set design. And she was getting into this whole thing with Howard Stern about the details of, like, oh, well, she wouldn't still be reading this book. We got to move this book over here, and this book should have a mark over here, and she should be at this far. It's like, so you're getting into the weeds with that stuff, but you're allowing someone to lick their hand? I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, that's the part that's crazy. And don't, as an actor, I think it's fine. If you don't want to watch yourself, I don't like listening to myself. I don't like watching myself at all. But if you're going to then take a producing credit, you got to at least participate in the show. And the problem is this now that we're seeing is that Michael Patrick King is so in love with her. And she's so in love with him, and they cannot, do you know what I mean? They're blinded. And I think it's a big problem. And I think it's in these moments. What really bugged me about this was the the bigness of Aiden, because I don't think he would have. I mean, I understood the discomfort and feeling uncomfortable and the worlds colliding kind of thing,
Mhm.
worlds colliding, and there's that discomfort there. But I don't. It doesn't ring true that he would go to this really big place. And the other part of it too is just all the other storylines that were felt really, except for Miranda's, felt really silly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. There's a real opportunity here to deal with real life issues, the
Mhm.
blended family issue. And that's as close as they've ever gotten to like
Yeah.
real life was this whole thing, this episode with Carrie and Aidan. So the bar is low, you know what I mean? So it's like if they ever do stuff that rings true, you're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God," it's a revelation. And then the stuff with Harry and Charlotte, that also is something that people our age really are dealing with,
Mhm.
and aging parents and, you know, thinking that, "Oh, that's gonna be me in, 20
Mhm.
years or whatever." That's a real thing. I feel
Mhm.
it. Like, so but the way that they choose to deal with it is silly. Yeah, like,
Mhm.
poor Harry, like, can't get it up in bed, and that starts this whole thing of,
Yeah.
his mortality and whatever. So if they had yeah, if if the show wasn't basically run by a gay man who's never had children,
Mhm.
it would be a completely different show. And of course, Sarah Jessica has children and has a family and has more like real life experience in these areas, but she won't watch the show, so she
Mhm.
can't see how tone deaf it is. This is a real problem.
Well,
And
and I think there's Alicia and who are the 2 women that have been with
oh,
it?
Eliza and Julie.
Eliza and Julie, and I believe at least one of them has children,
I think
because
they
one of them
both
will
do.
talk about their
Yeah.
kids. But again, I mean, I don't know. What really bugs me is, well, I've said this 4 times, so obviously lots of things bug me. But it's the Catskills 1960s humor, the jokes.
Mhm.
The jokes that are made are really hacky,
Yeah.
and they're not clever. And I think that what was one of the things about Sex and the City that was interesting, where the jokes were funny, they were
Mhm.
clever, they were interesting. And now it's just like, God, it feels like you constantly feel like you're going from one dad joke to the next.
Yeah.
And it's torture.
Yeah, and, we were talking about this about how Darren Star, who was the showrunner for Sex and the City, he's not involved in this project, and I don't know
Hmm.
if that's part of it. I'm not really sure what a showrunner even does,
Well, they run the show basically. They do
but
everything. They're basically like the big boss at the show.
did they have anything to do with the creative part of it, with the
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
and stuff?
Some
Okay.
will, some won't. So, but most of the time they do. They do have power. They do have
Yeah.
direction. But it sounds like, well, Michael Patrick King directs all of these episodes. That's, I think,
Yeah.
also a problem. I think you need other people's perspectives and points of view
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
again, Carrie could give him that. She even
Hmm.
said Carrie, Sarah Jessica, she even said that he asks her from time to time, I think he's sort of given up at this
Hmm.
point, asks her, "Please watch this episode, I wanna get your take on it," or whatever, and she just doesn't, and I just find that that's really disappointing to me, like,
Yeah.
it's just you don't care enough to yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that I think it's hard to stomach, because you're a little bit like, in your obituary that's already been written, I'm sure. Your
Mhm.
obituary will start with this.
Yeah.
This is the thing that
This is your legacy.
yeah, this is your legacy. This is the thing you're most associated with. You had this great show that you left, and then you decided to make these movies.
Mhm.
Okay, you made the movies. All right, fine. And then you decide to come back again and come back to the well and say, okay, we're going to break this and we're going to change it up again. You've dined out on this a lot,
Mhm. Mhm.
so you're not even gonna bother paying attention.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit like, this isn't some side job you have.
Yeah. No. That's why it's so disappointing. It's like, wow. It's just shocking to me.
Yeah. And
So,
also, I know I say this every week, but Kim Cattrall is a really huge loss. I
mhm.
think she's a huge loss. She really is. Nobody
Yeah,
can do what
Seema
she
is
did.
really not cutting it, as
And
of yet.
Seema and LTW together and, all of it, none of it. It's like, it's not the same.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not.
not. So,
All
anyway,
right, well, then we're gonna we're
now
now
we're
gonna
gonna
talk about
keep
it for an hour.
it's not gonna stop us from watching it and talking about it.
All right.
Um,
So we want to
so
keep the Carrie and Aiden stuff we'll do that last, but let's
okay.
start with some of these other ones. Let's start with Seema, because my first note is, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I was listening to Heather McDonald on Juicy Scoop talk about this, and she's a
Mhm.
former realtor, and she made a lot of really good points that I actually never thought of. She's like, if Seema's a top realtor, wouldn't Ryan Serhan and Seema know each other already? Wouldn't they have
Mhm.
been at open houses together? Don't all
Mhm.
people know or know of each other? And just all of it, like, just, huh? Like, why is this the way they're handling all of this, like pretending like they don't know each other? And this guy, he's the majority owner. Your name is on the wall.
Yeah,
He's the
aren't you?
majority owner. Like, and so he can just sell this whole thing right out from under you, and you have no power at all.
I guess not. I mean, I don't it sounds like they had some deal that he didn't really honor because
Yeah.
she said something about how he was supposed to give her more notice or something, or give her, like, I think, like, a right of first refusal,
Mm-hmm.
to buy
Mm-hmm.
him out, and he didn't do that. He clearly just bypassed her and sold it to Ryan Serhan. So,
Oh,
yeah.
and did you hear on the again, they think this Ryan Serhan casting is like a coup. They think like this is just the most brilliant casting. I'm like, okay, maybe he's a big deal in New York. I could be very, very wrong. I don't really watch that show, $1 Million Listing New York. But huh? Like, we're supposed to be impressed by this guy?
Yeah,
Like,
by a
okay,
Bravo celebrity. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, okay, great. He's done big things, but pick someone who's kind of in the New York circles. That would be kind of cool to see someone who's really known for being a big shot, hot shot.
Well,
I don't know.
I think he is. I mean, I that's the impression I got. Like, and I've heard before that, he is a real, that's why he was on that show, that $1 Million Listing show, because he really is like a top, you know,
Yes, no, I'm
seller.
not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that really, like, you all pride yourself on your interesting casting.
Mhm.
Why at Bravo Celebrity?
Yeah, I don't
Anyway,
know, because
so
people know
anyway,
who
not
he
to get
is.
into the, but this whole thing is it's so dumb, it's so weird, and this whole thing of, like, does a millennial not know what Jerry Maguire is? I
No,
mean,
yes, they don't.
they in the
That
writers'
movie's
room.
like 30 years old or
I
something,
guess not. I guess not. I just
or
felt like I
more.
knew when I was younger. I knew what things were 30 years earlier. I don't. Okay, fine.
It is it's but it's just it's a dumb, where are we going with this?
Yeah,
Where's she gonna go? I mean, I
yeah.
don't
She
even
picked.
care. I don't even care.
I don't care where she goes and what she does.
I don't care. I'm not vested in her one bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So, moving
Eh,
on.
yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard to be invested in her at all.
Yeah.
Um, at all. Okay. Where should we go now?
Oh gosh.
LTW, because this is another one that I'm a little annoyed with.
Well, yeah, I mean, is this a setup where she's going to be tempted to
Yeah.
have an affair? So, yeah, she's trying to replace uh Grace, and she gets this resume that's just perfect, and the name on the resume is Marion Odin. And she assumes that's a woman. And then
Mhm.
in walks this, hot, guy. And you could tell, like, cuz she gets a little giddy, and you
Mhm.
know, you where is this going? Is she gonna, I mean,
Well, yeah, where is this going? Are you just bringing him in, okay, as a okay, so where will this go? And in the writers room podcast, they talk about this, and I don't think that they're wrong. That people are like, work is very much where people get into, married people get into emotional affairs and sometimes real
Mhm.
affairs. Like the workplace is right for those kinds of things. So that's interesting. But I didn't. The other part of it I didn't quite understand was this whole thing, and what they're talking about is this idea that's been talked about more and more about men and women who have been married for a long time sleeping apart.
Mhm.
I myself would like to sleep apart from Steve. Steve won't let me. Nor do we
I
have a big enough house really to make it happen. But I've been trying to get away for a while. He's the one that feels like it's the foundation of the relationship. So I do see that push and pull between the two of them of
Mhm.
like, we need to be together or not. But then at the very last scene of hers, we see her trying to keep herself awake so that she doesn't disturb him because she keeps talking in her sleep. It's like, well, why do you, if you think you're going to talk again in your sleep, then why are you foregoing sleep
Yeah, that's
to
crazy.
prove this point? That was weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and she's also um concerned about, well, this is kind of unimportant, I guess, but because this is a film about black women and
Yeah.
he's not a woman. He's a black man, but he doesn't have the same perspective as Grace did.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. I have no idea where this is going. I'm
Okay.
almost afraid.
Yeah, me too. If that guy, what's his name? If Marion licks his hand, I am out.
Yeah, if there's a masturbation scene where he's thinking about LTW, while he's in the editing room, that's the final straw.
He starts jerking off watching these 10 black women to be.
But see, they would never do that to his character because he's not old enough. They you've got to be like over 50
Oh
to
god.
to
No,
have
they
an
just
uncomfortable masturbation scene.
no, they just went to Evan Handler who plays Harry. They just went to him and said, "You're going to be our punching bag." Got it? Guess what?
Yeah, you want this job?
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve is out,
Oh,
I
yes.
guess.
Yes.
He escaped.
He refuses to film.
Yeah, we
So,
haven't
now
seen
you
him
have to
yet.
do all this crap.
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet this season, but we saw Brady
Yes,
briefly.
yes. All
Oh
right.
gosh, another
So,
silly storyline.
I know. Well, but I think it felt, I don't know, if anything it made me laugh. I mean, so let's do Charlotte. Okay.
Okay.
So Charlotte is this whole thing is about as we've been mentioning Harry's father, Morris and it is just like the old jokes about his father. It's that's what I said.
Mhm.
It's like Catskills level. I feel like I'm watching some. Huh? These are clever jokes, family. Your kids would be also groaning if you really were saying these things. Just all of it. It's just this idea. I guess apparently these were taken from real things that apparently someone lived in a building with a building link where you could,
Oh yeah, with the banana.
exchange, you can exchange things, food, products, this, that with each other. Okay. And, but he Harry is so angry at the banana. Like he's like,
Yeah.
why banana? And she's like, and then they start talking about banana bread. I'm like, you can't make banana bread with one banana. Plus that banana is too ripe for banana bread.
Right.
I make
Yeah.
it often. We let bananas rot in our house often. It just all of it. Like, why are you angry, Harry? Why are you mad at your
Well,
dad?
because again, it's triggering him. It's
Okay.
triggering, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
why are
Okay.
you're like rolling your eyes like
No, I'm just
like
saying, yeah, okay. It is true. I mean, I'm not disputing that, but I am disputing the writing. I'm disputing the it
no,
feels
absolutely.
like
I agree.
you have these opportunities for true vulnerability, for true realness, for true interesting connections, and
Mhm.
instead you go for a campy joke.
Mhm.
That's my issue.
Well, and that whole family, they do nothing but
Have
like
family
make
dinners.
jokes at each other's expense, like
Mhm.
Rock is always, oh, and Lily, she's the worst. She's like such a bitch. They make these comments, the way that they talk to their parents and the way that they make fun of them, and um, they seem to like Pop, better than the parents. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's just wh- who was it? Was it one of them like had to fix his iPad because there was too
Yeah,
much
rock.
porn on it?
So that's the happy ending, literally, figuratively. That's the happy ending of this little storyline, which is Harry now has, oh, my father still is interested in sex
Mhm.
because he's downloading porn. Okay, phew, whew.
so, so okay, so he's relieved that his dad is, because that means that, well, if my dad is still doing that, then there's hope
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah, and he's at the woman, that woman, that actress Annie Goldman. She was really good. That actress who played the neighbor. He said, "I'll be at her apartment. Don't wait up for me."
Hmm.
So right in the end, it was like, see, you had nothing to worry about.
Okay, we'll wrap
All
this
right.
all up, and
Yeah.
then we discover Diego, Lily's boyfriend. Um, he says he's poly. He has a boyfriend too,
Hmm.
and Lily's just fine with all. They're always trying to make these girls be so um PC, and like
Hmm.
one of Charlotte's kids is going to be like a little Charlotte. Or
Hmm.
should be, but no, Charlotte has these two ultra progressive kids,
Yeah.
which I think is interesting.
Well, but also Lily's just, I mean, that's an interesting storyline. That's Lily's fine with it. Maybe some of it should be like, gosh, I feel like I should be fine with this, but
Right.
I'm hurt, or I want to be exclusive. How do I ask him? Or that's okay. That's a real
Hmm.
that feels very real.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well,
All
maybe
right,
that's coming.
Miranda.
Oh,
Um,
Miranda.
oh Miranda. This wild cunt is birthday. Um, and making her a meme, all of that. I mean, okay.
Yeah, Miranda's really been like every episode just gets completely humiliated in some way. Seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what it is? I think one thing I think they're falling down on is, right, the show used to be about these four women and they were regularly dating in their relationships. And, some relationships, there were these sweet storylines, but usually there was a punchline. Like each guy, right? The guy who
Mhm.
kept bringing her home, the guy that wanted to watch porn and act out everything in porn, the guy
Mhm.
who's who brought him home, wants to have sex in the hallway or the basement, or the parents coming home and watching them.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
everyone had some little quirk, so it's almost a little bit like they feel this need to be quirky, like, oh, we
Mhm.
have to have these quirky storylines of these men who are just behaving badly or doing weird things. And but no, she's dating women, so now the women have to be doing it, but it's very odd too, because it's in this little pocket. It's not four storylines happening at once. It's one
Yeah.
little thing.
Yeah, and they would then get together and talk about it, talk about,
Yes.
have you ever, has a guy ever asked you to do this? Or yeah,
Yeah.
they're all living their own separate lives, and they're not
Hmm.
coming together, and or a little
Because
bit, but
correct, because not one character was in the same room with each other. LTW, Seema, of the five main women, not
mhm.
one was in a scene with the other one.
No, not this episode.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, it's funny cuz how Miranda she was so mortified by this meme, she thinks her life is over, and I can't remember who says it. I think maybe it Carrie who says, "Oh, don't worry, there's been a million memes since then." Like
mhm.
everyone's forgotten about you, which is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although Joy's friends recognize her
Mhm.
as from the wild cunt meme.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was interesting because I was trying to figure out, like, oh, so joy is a little perplexing to me, but okay, I
Mhm.
get it. So when you really like someone, you withdraw, but that didn't feel like what was happening at the house when they were in the kitchen together. That's not someone who's kind of withdrawn, or that was someone who seemed annoyed.
Yeah, and
It
her friends
frustrated.
were those
Assholes.
British friends were obnoxious.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought she was mortified by them.
yeah, embarrassed, like, by
Yeah.
their behavior. Yeah, I don't know about Joy. She's seems like I just kind of feel nothing for her. She's just kind of there.
Yeah. I like her. I mean, I think she's a good person for Miranda, but I, yeah, I just that's the thing about the show is that I will watch the show, then I'll listen to the podcast, the writers room podcast, and then I'll be like, okay, everything that you're saying to me makes sense. I get it, but
Mhm.
it's a weird approach. It always just doesn't land like it's
Mhm.
supposed how they're talking about it doesn't land. I don't know. All right. You want to get into Carrie and Aiden? Let's get down to the
Okay.
nitty-gritty here.
All right. Um so Carrie wakes up, still in her same clothes
Yeah.
cuz her luggage is lost. Um and so, the first thing she sees is, well, she hears voices outside, and then all of a sudden Wyatt is like at her window
Mhm.
because they're painting the whatever the where is
The
she,
guest
like in a
house.
barn, a guest
Like a
house or
guest
something?
house.
They're painting, and he's kind of a creepy Children of the Corn looking kid.
Yeah, they really made Wyatt one thing. Do you
Mhm.
know what I mean? I think Wyatt can be many things, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, she quickly kind of, is flustered and turns away. So she then goes outside, and she's got her high heels on, and trekking through the dirt or whatever.
Stepping over a chicken on the stairs because it's got to be so
Yes.
country. Let's put a chicken on the stairs.
Yeah. And the chicken doesn't move at all. I mean, she's trying to like walk around it, walk over it, try to get
Yeah.
past it. But that chicken, that's a well-trained chicken
Yeah.
because the chicken stayed put.
Yes. That chicken, unlike the rats, probably has like a union. Unlike,
It's a much more seasoned
yeah, this is a
actor.
seasoned chicken. Ha ha ha.
So the middle son, Homer, he's too happy.
Yes. Because again, I have a child about his age who I think Homer is probably like 17, 18, something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, not that happy.
Yeah, he
And
runs over to give Carrie a hug, and he's never met her before.
yeah.
Runs to her, gives her this big hug, and is like so happy that she's there. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, this is weird. Meanwhile, Wyatt will barely look at her.
Mhm.
Um, anyway,
Yes. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of odd and weird and okay. All right. So
so
this ATV into town.
well, first,
Oh yeah,
um,
the flapjacks.
oh no, I was thinking, Aiden. Well, yeah, it's unclear, like, if she's leaving, or staying or whatever, but um, Aiden invites her to stay because I guess in a couple days, Tate is coming home. He's turning 21. They're going to have this big
Mhm.
family dinner, which um, we'll get to. But yeah, so she needs some clothes.
Mhm.
And so she's saying, I guess there's one dress shop in town, and she's saying, "Oh, I can just walk. I can just walk." And they're like, "No, that doesn't work like that here. You
Mhm.
don't just walk down to the store." So yeah, they put her on an ATV,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
if I had never ridden an ATV, she just hops on it like it's no big deal, and Homer gives her some of his clothes, and
Mhm.
she hops on, puts the helmet on just like it's nothing.
Mhm.
I would be terrified.
I think I would do it. I think it would be fun.
Huh. Well,
But again, uh
I've never
okay.
ridden an ATV,
Yeah.
so
Though that's the thing that people every like there are so many of these ATV accidents.
mhm.
Right? Ozzy Osbourne got into a really terrible one. There have been a few there where people have gotten into some terrible accidents. I'd still want to
Yeah.
do it, but
Oh.
if it was flat, I don't want to go up and down hills, but I do it flat around town.
Okay, well, Carrie's fine with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
in this whole episode, yeah, Carrie's trying to be like easy breezy,
Mhm.
cool girl, because she
Yeah.
wants other boys to think that she's just, you know, she's not a problem at all. She's
Yeah.
not gonna take their father away from them or anything like that. So she's being just ultra, amenable to
Mhm.
everything.
Well, one thing is, again, in the writers' room, they talk about this, which is they wanted to make it so that it felt like we're in Aiden's world, right? We're not in New York City. We're not in
Mhm.
Carrie's world. We've always seen the two of them together in
Mhm.
her world.
Right.
Now we're in his world. And I think yes, absolutely. We are seeing something, and I think that like some of the dialogue with, again, with Aiden, like even in the first words of the episode where we hear Aiden and talking to the kids, like it feels very fake and false.
Mhm.
I understand that piece when she walks down the stairs and you're Aiden, you're kind of in this weird place of, these are my kids, but this is this, this person I have this long history with. What do I do?
Mhm.
Where do I go? Do I kiss you?
Yeah.
Do I not kiss you? How do I do this? And I think all of that is very, very real.
Mhm.
It's just the level at which they brought Aiden to, I don't know, at some
Yeah,
points.
no, it's Aiden is very uncomfortable. I mean, Carrie seems very comfortable.
Mhm.
Unless this is a complete act. She seems very comfortable. He seems very uncomfortable
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
But I love this part where she goes to what she calls the sister wives dress shop.
Yes, yes, we got a sister wives call out.
Yeah, she's on the phone with Miranda, and I have to say, these dresses,
Mhm.
these are Gunny Sacks
Yes.
dresses, which I don't. I think by the I don't know if you missed the Gunny Sack craze because it was
Mhm.
kind of short. But
Yes.
like when I was in middle school, that's all you wore to any occasion, to a
Mhm.
dance, graduation, whatever, were those gunny sack dresses, the
Mhm.
Jessica McClintock uh,
Yeah.
like line of gunny sack dresses, and I'm like, wow, this is really a throwback.
Yes, it is. It is a throwback.
Yeah,
Despite this country store, Carrie still looks pretty goddamn fashionable in
yeah.
these outfits. I mean,
She managed to find, especially
something that,
that white dress. Like
yeah,
she
fit her
looked
like a glove.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A-
of course. Well,
So,
that's
and
the
you
thing.
have the perfect undergarments for it as well. You have like dark, kind of big underwear. Like you have it's see-through white dress, but you have you have the
Right.
bra and the underwear that you need. I mean,
Yeah, you
okay.
somehow managed to find that in this like one horse town.
Yeah, in this one shop sells
Yeah.
everything, shoes, everything,
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's one. Yeah. And that was another thing she was talking to Howard Stern about was how, for one item of clothing, you might have 27 fittings, like no
mhm.
joke.
Yeah.
27 fittings for that because you have to see how it looks on camera, how it looks when you're actually in it and doing the part. Are you going to be able
Mhm.
to maneuver if it's a big dress or whatever? So they have to constantly go back and do alterations and
Mhm.
corrections. So that was a interesting part of the whole interview was interesting, but nothing beat the hand licking
I
part.
don't watch the show. I didn't know he licked his hand.
Yeah, that's what she said. She was like, "What?" When he said, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. I mean, come on. And what, Howard Stern's the first one that brought this up to you? I mean, if I was her friend, I'd be the first one on the phone being
I
like, "You gotta be, he
know.
licked his hand. That's
Yeah, nobody
disgusting."
told you? Jesus. Anyway,
Yeah.
um,
All right. So she's shopping, she's got these clothes. And so Aiden's desperately trying to get the boys and Carrie together, right?
mhm,
He's kind of like, okay, everyone hang out. And so they go fishing. And, again, Wyatt's a jerk and
mhm,
Homer's just Mr. Sweetie Pie. And so they finally get, so Aiden's very fixated on Wyatt not getting on screens.
Mhm.
And I just remember thinking, like, and Kathy says this later in the episode, but I keep thinking, like, because Aiden says, "Well, I have to keep Wyatt busy because that gets him out of his mind, gets him out of his head." And I'm thinking, if he's got mental health issues, then no, he needs to be focused on what's going on in his head. Like,
Mhm.
you distracting him constantly, you moving him from place, like, that's not going to do it. I'm not saying the screens are a good thing, but this isn't better.
Yeah, he
Um,
thinks that if he just distracts Wyatt with, painting the house and painting the barn, like that's going to solve everything. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, this is the problem is that we find out that there's a difference of opinion between Aiden and Kathy.
Hmm.
Kathy wants to treat his mental health issues with Adderall,
Yeah.
and Aiden doesn't. He doesn't
Hmm.
want him taking that. He thinks he can just get him out there doing hard work and this
Yeah.
is very macho, like not modern thinking at all.
Though I will say that this issue does come up. Like, the biggest concern, I've had more conversations about taking medication with clients than anything else,
Mhm.
really. So, a lot of people are very worried about it. When it comes to your kid, people are even more worried about it, right? And so this thought of, no, he needs meds, he was diagnosed with this, and the other person going, no, he has substance abuse problems, we shouldn't be giving him something that can be abused.
Mhm.
I mean, they're both right. They're
Mhm.
both absolutely right. And I think this is the part about, right, parenting that doesn't get talked about a lot, which is, you and your partner have to get on. I mean, there's so many things you have to get on the same page with, and there's always going to be things that the two of you do not believe. The two of you think about differently, completely. And I can see this power struggle
Yeah.
between the two of them. But again, I, I don't know. Aiden, I don't. Again, I feel like it was a little harsh. I don't think he
Yeah,
would be talking to her this harshly, but
and I this just occurred to me, if they're characterizing Wyatt as having substance abuse issues, and the thing that precipitated all this was that he got drunk and drove into a tree and,
yeah, or took
broke
mushrooms or
broke
something.
his a couple bones or something.
Collarbone or something.
Yeah, is that if that didn't just happen, like that had been
Mhm.
happening, building up, and the entire time that Aiden is in New York wooing Carrie, he
Mhm.
never even talks to her about it. She doesn't
Mm.
find out until the car crash.
Yeah.
So that's kind of telling is that, you're dealing with this major issue in your life. One of your kids has, according to him, substance abuse problems and
Mhm.
mental health problems, which he's using the substances probably, to self-medicate, and that's a big that's like a daily thing in your life, and
Mhm.
he doesn't even mention it to her.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, one person, they were talking about this on the podcast, where one person, apparently, I guess people have been coming up to Michael Patrick King saying, "I think Aiden is a narcissist." Like, there's this new theory that Aiden's this secret, covert
Mm.
narcissist that we've never realized or recognized until now.
Hmm.
I I
Well,
I,
what would be the evidence to support that? Like, what has
I
he
don't. I mean, again,
done?
that's not my opinion, but
No,
I don't
I'm
know.
just asking, like, if you can think of
Um.
anything.
Well, I definitely think there is something secretive. If you, it
Mhm.
really, exactly what you're talking about, there's something very secretive about what's happening here with between Carrie, this life and this other life with his kids. It could be that. It could be, I mean, a lot of people felt like him walking up to her at the end of last season and saying, "Give me 5 years," or sort of, ripping the rug right out from
Mhm.
under her without ever forewarning her or telling her. um and just, do things the way, controlling, do things the way I want you to do them, do
Mhm.
things how I want them to be done, kind of thing. I don't know, I don't really think that that's what it is. What um what we're really seeing is two people that, you know love each other, and but have made totally different life choices, like live very different lives, and trying to figure out, like, how do we come together and do this, and can we?
Mhm.
Because I think this was a really good example of what's that song? Sometimes love just isn't enough, right? That this is one of the things about getting older that you recognize, which is that things are not so black and white, that there are people out there that you may love and care about and feel like we have this connection, but you're not with
Mhm.
because of various circumstances,
Mhm.
because, we live two different lives and our priorities are different. I mean, I think
Mhm.
that's like a big thing with Carrie and Aiden is the priorities are different. One of the things when she asks him about the table, they have afternoon sex, and she asks him about the table, and he's like, "What table?" And I think that's a great example of that. Of like, for him, he's just like, I'm dealing with my kids here. Like,
Right.
I'm not stressing out about a table. Like, I don't care. Even though I'm a furniture guy, I don't care. You
Yeah, and
know?
she was simmering over that for,
Mhm.
how long, days, weeks, or whatever. I can't follow the time in this show, but yeah, no, they're all the things that it's like all the things that she's thinking about are not at all the things he's thinking about.
Mhm.
And they really don't get each other. They have it seems like they have great sex, they have great chemistry.
Mhm.
They have like when they're just bantering or whatever is fun. But when it comes to like, yeah, like you said, like major life choices, how you live your life, what you do, it didn't work the first time. He wanted to remember
Or the
he
second
wanted to
time. Or the second time. I
um
mean, don't oh, well, she cheated on him the first
well,
time, but
yeah,
yeah, the
but
second time.
in the previous series, remember when he had that cabin up in
Yeah.
Suffering, and
Yes.
she
Yes.
hated it there and he
Yeah.
loved it, and they always had a difference of style, taste, everything. I mean,
Mhm.
they're not compatible. She was much more compatible with Big.
Yeah.
They wanted the same kind of lifestyle,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
S So, yeah,
Aiden
is
wanted
she
kids, obviously, and she didn't. So
yeah, and I guess I'm wondering with her if is she feeling, is this guilt? Like, you've hurt him so much, like, you don't feel like you can, you have to make up for lost time or you have to
right.
make up for that. But I also think that what she's also recognizing is, again, something else that people recognize as you get older, which is, yes, you'll meet a lot of people, but yeah, when you have real chemistry with someone, it's special, it's unique, it's different.
Mhm.
And so it's that, right? We have so much chemistry, we have so much of this stuff over here, and then we have all these issues over here.
Mhm.
And so how do we make this work? How do we all get our needs met in
Mhm.
this? And I think the writers really screwed up by saying, hey, by having Aiden say, give me 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that really tripped everyone up because if he just said, "Hey, give me a little bit of time,"
Right.
and it was very vague, then that would be very different. There's something about that 5 years that everybody's like, "Well, didn't you listen? He said 5 years." Or
Mhm.
didn't you because the 5 years was unreasonable.
Mhm.
Unreasonable. So to
Totally.
me, I feel like him saying, "Give me a little bit of time, I'll get back in touch with you." That feels more normal. And as someone myself who's had issues with my kid, people have reached out to me and then I won't respond and then they'll reach out to me again and be like, "What's going, are you mad at me?" And I'm always like, "No, no, no. Let me stop you for a second. I got all this stuff going on. I'll get back in touch with you when I can."
Mhm.
And that's kind of the mentality because you don't know how long these things are going to take. You don't
Mhm.
know how long you're going to be wrapped up in this.
Yeah,
So,
that was a really dumb choice. So someone needs to
yes.
explain that.
Yes, and then
Okay.
we go to that VR. Well, I skipped ahead a little bit, but they
Oh
go to
yeah.
this VR place with the boys because apparently, like, Carrie goes to Aiden and says, "Hey, they want to do something. They want to go. Wyatt wants to do this VR thing." Aiden's like, "No screens," and she's like, "Listen, this. I need an opening here, buddy. Let's do it." And then he's like, "Okay, well, I'll come with you." Okay,
Yeah. Yeah,
all
and then
right.
Wyatt totally accidentally like runs into
Yeah.
Carrie and kind of hits her in the head with his laser gun or whatever it is. And she's she's fine. She's not making a big deal of it about it. But then Aiden's like, "Oh, don't make him feel bad. Don't make him feel bad." And then Carrie's like, "Okay, well, what do I do?"
Mhm.
It's like he's just putting so much pressure on everyone.
Yeah.
He's really annoying. Aiden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we get to the birthday party for Tate. So Tate comes and we see Tate, who we had all
Mhm.
seen when he was a baby. And this is what I love. You remember Carrie? It's like, yeah, from the street.
When I was in my baby Bjorn, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Dad, I remember her. Um, so and then we see Kathy pull up with her boyfriend Bob.
Mhm.
And yeah, we get this whole thing about how Bob basically feels like even though Bob doesn't get a voice, Bob doesn't get an opinion, Bob's treated like
Yes, I
like
don't
it's
know why
second.
Bob is
Yeah,
still around.
why is Bob putting up with this shit? I
Yeah,
mean,
he
you're a
tells
little bit like Bob, what's up with you?
he tells Carrie that after 4 years together with Kathy, it's finally starting to feel okay.
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
years he's been this is where we this is where we really get the inside scoop on the dysfunctional family. I mean, the arguing, and anyway, yeah, so Bob, he's the one who tells Carrie that there's this difference of opinion between Kathy and Aiden about the Adderall that Aiden doesn't approve.
Mhm.
And then Carrie, immediately has to go tell him, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea, when Kathy
Mhm.
called, blah, blah, blah." Um,
But this was I think this was a real moment of a parent and a non-parent moment, which was
mhm.
this. She immediately gets up and the writers are all saying, "See, she goes right to him. She goes right to him and addresses the issue." And I'm thinking to myself, the lighting of the candles on a birthday cake for a kid's party is a critical moment.
Right,
It's a
it's
moment
not
of
time
stress.
to
And it's a moment
Yes.
of stress and anxiety, and I think any parent who's listening to me right now
Yes.
knows that it is like you've got people in the other room, you gotta light these candles, you gotta sing
Mhm.
happy birthday. It's a lot. It
It's a
is a
lot of
lot.
pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And she goes right, I mean, he's sitting there trying to light the candles and he looks at her and goes, "Not now." And I'm like, "Yes, Aiden, not now. I'm with you on
Yeah,
this. Not now. This is not you really? You're gonna bring this up now?"
I know.
That felt
Yeah,
really tone deaf. And
it
but
it
I
it
think a
it
very
was.
person with a kid, person not with a kid.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway,
Anyway,
um,
so
yeah.
I forget what happens when they're actually eating, if there was any tension or if that was
No,
later.
we don't see the eating part. We never see them eat. We go right from the cake part to them playing apples to apples.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and Wyatt loses his shit during this game.
and so I thought what was very real was the other brothers, the way they were reacting. Because this is something we don't see this a lot. We don't see
Mhm.
this enough, which is, yeah, Wyatt impacts everybody. Wyatt impacts
Right.
both the brothers, the brother that would like to have a nice birthday, the brother that's home, you know, um,
Mhm.
in these family dynamics when you've got I mean Homer being so happy in some ways there's a little bit of this kind of might have been an acting choice or a choice really which is usually if you have one problem child then someone else is the other kid feels like they have to be perfect and they're
Right.
the ones that don't ask for anything and then they grow up and they don't learn how to ask for anything because they've had this other kid they get
Mhm.
that other kid gets lost a lot of times and it's not particularly fair but it happens because all the attention and focus goes to the kid who's the quote unquote the identified patient or the problem in the family.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I thought all of that was very right on. The brothers kind of egging him, being like, "You are being annoying. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're making this hard." And basically, whatever facade Kathy and Aiden had just lost it,
Mhm.
But it was just all the stuff that leading up to that with the apples to apples, like dad's goofy dance moves, and then Aiden has to stand up and pretend to be Elvis. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it was like I felt like they were overcompensating. It's like, God damn it, we're gonna have fun. This is
Hmm.
gonna be fun because Carrie's there. They've got to put on a show for Carrie.
Bob doesn't even get to play apples to apples. They
I don't
put him
think
in the
he wants
corner.
to.
I don't think he wants to.
No. Bob stays, over here as far
Bob
as
drinks in the
I'm
corner and looks at his phone.
exactly. That's how he's learned to deal with this,
Yes, with this
after
family.
4 years.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, everything goes sideways, and Kathy's saying, "This is why he needs to be on meds," and then out of nowhere, I didn't even see Wyatt slip out, but he slips out of the house, comes around to this big window that they're all sitting near, and breaks the window with, like, a hatchet or something.
No, it's actually, I think, a paint roller. It's
Oh,
it's like,
okay.
"Fuck you, dad.
It's
You're
like
gonna make me paint
painting.
all weekend long. I've been taking this thing and
Yeah, and then Aiden says something about how it was too soon, which I guess I'm assuming too soon to bring Carrie around.
or all these people."
Or yeah, I mean, I kind
Because
of thought it
yeah.
meant Carrie, but I don't know.
No, I think it was too soon. I think you meant, like, too soon for Carrie or too
Yeah.
soon in all of it. Um, you know, again, I think the stuff between him and Kathy is very, like, that conversation is very, very, very real. But I don't know. I think um they're making Aiden very one dimensional, and
Mhm.
I think that's right. I understand his character obviously would be uncomfortable, but I just don't think he would be. I don't know. I just don't think he would go to these extremes. These really, like, these extreme highs of, like, being the goofy dad to these extreme angry, not now,
Mhm.
like.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Mhm.
It's just yeah, it's just a lot of tension, and then
Yeah.
Carrie basically is like, she didn't at first she didn't really believe that Aiden needed to be there, this
Mhm.
5-year thing, but now she does.
Yes.
Now she's like, "Oh, okay. I get
Mhm.
it. I get what yeah, you have a problem here."
Yeah.
Um, and she gives him the key, and of course she says, "Use it when you need to, when you can, but not out of guilt." So, I mean, is she like this is interesting. I don't know what she's saying. She says, "The boys aren't coming, not for a while. No more games. I love you and I'll be there."
Well,
Um,
I think, right, she's finally speaking to what everyone's saying. It's like
yeah.
she's finally waking up. And again, I think that if you hadn't said 5 years, if he hadn't
Mhm.
said 5 years, this makes a lot of sense. This would make a lot of sense of, "Oh, I thought this was gonna be, like, a couple months, or we were just gonna hit pause," and she said that, all the beds are in the hallway, the
Mhm.
this and that, and that's interesting too when you talk about that, because she bought that house to have a bigger house for the boys, so obviously Aiden talked to her about the boys, so never mentioned anything about Wyatt's mental
Yeah.
health issues, and I don't believe the kid has substance abuse issues. I think he used substances and ran into the truck,
Yeah.
but
Well, this
ran the
was
truck into a
that was
tree.
pre-running into the tree, and maybe he thought at that point, like, they could deal with it, or
Mhm.
it wasn't that bad, and then the accident happened, and then it
Yeah.
was. So, I
Um,
don't know what I mean,
but
and
the but
then
I sorry, I thought the sense was that she was really saying to him, like, "Listen, I see now. I'm not a parent, but I now see. I see how
Mhm.
hard this is. I see you cannot give me a time frame. I see that it's hard for you to know what next week's going to look like." And
Mhm.
so I think she was basically saying, "I'm here. I want to be with you, and I'm willing. I'll wait. I'm going to go live my life." I think basically what she was saying is, "I'm going to go live my life.
Right.
I'm going to furnish this house. I'm
Come
going
when
to
you can,
come when
come
you
visit when
can.
you can.
And when you can't, you can't. And we'll, play it by ear, I guess." I
But she's
mean,
not gonna date other people?
well, I don't know. Maybe the gardener. I don't know. I mean, who
Because 5
knows?
years is a long time.
But and again, I think I shouldn't have said 5 years because that
Yeah,
trips everybody up. But yeah, and I think then that presents a new sort of interesting thing of, what does waiting look like?
right.
Is waiting just waiting by the phone, or is waiting like living your life, and what happens if you are tempted?
Yeah.
See, I think that might be
That's gonna be the
interesting
rest of the season, yeah.
since she's cheated on Aiden in the past. Like, what do I do now?
Well,
I
I think
do.
she'll do it differently. Like, I think this is gonna be the rest of the season where she's tempted by different people. She doesn't act on it, but then she at some point, she's gonna want to act on it, and she's
Hmm.
gonna say, "I'm not gonna just cheat on him. I'm not gonna do that this time."
Hmm.
And I think she's gonna go to him and tell him
Hmm.
and
That's a good prediction.
renegotiate. Like, what
That's
does
their
this mean?
contract, their 5-year contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I
Well.
love it. She's on the plane going home and she goes online to try to buy that table that's
Hmm.
been sold.
Yes. She waited
She waited
too
too long.
long to
And she
buy the
cuz she was
table.
waiting on him. She thought that he wouldn't like it. So she
Hmm.
didn't buy it,
Hmm.
but she likes it. So,
Yes. Well, yeah, and so it's this big thing of like you need to start making decisions for yourself. Like
mhm.
you need to start furnishing this place how you want it, not how
Right.
the two of you want it, um, by any means.
Yeah,
So
cuz he
I
might
d-
never be coming back.
yeah, I do like uh the when he's sitting on the bed and she's talking to him and he all of a sudden he has this very vulnerable moment of like, are you breaking up with me? It was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, good God, they're giving John Corbett something." Like, "Oh, this is good acting." It was really it was very real. It felt like, "Whoa, yeah,
Mhm.
that was real sadness, real tears of,
Mhm.
oh crap." Like, because I think Aiden feels like I'm blowing this. I'm blowing
Mhm.
this. And I think again, I think this is more of what the Aiden that we've seen. The Aiden that's like, give me 5 years is not this person.
Mhm.
I think what we're seeing is much more of, okay, this is who he is. So I don't know. Maybe I'm an Aiden
Yeah.
apologist or something. I don't know. I just don't see him as being an evil person. I just think they have very different. I think they're just very different people that like different things and have different
Mhm.
lifestyles. And I really never believed that a guy like that would be living in New York. He never
Yeah.
felt New York to me at all.
No. No.
Or he would be living in New York for like 5 years and then be like, I got to get back to the farm. Oh,
Yeah. I don't
so
know. We'll
anyway,
see.
we'll keep watching. We'll keep watching and criticizing and complaining and listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
And
listening to anything Sarah Jessica Parker has to say,
yes,
any interviews.
yes, yes. All right. Well, if thank you so much for joining us here. If you're watching us, hello. We are now on YouTube. If you're not watching us, go check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Um, we are, really finger on the pulse with this YouTube thing. Um, let's see. Please, if you enjoy us and enjoy our content, please give us a 5-star rating and review. Those really do help us. You can subscribe to the podcast so you always get all of our shows. We're covering, and just like that, on this, these come out on Monday, and then Thursdays we are still doing our various documentaries. This week you will get. We're going to be covering "Call Her Alex," and we'll have an update about the Karen Reed trial because there was a verdict this week as
Mhm.
well. So go check those out. If you want more content from us, please go check out our Patreon. You can get all the shows ad free. You can. We do a weekly bonus, and we have some other things for our higher tier content, higher tier Patreon members. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Is there more?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.